Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time reviewing on issue 3 of Spider-Man Chapter 1. Now, I think we all know what Spider-Man Chapter 1 was. It was an attempt, much like Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, and Batman Year 1, to do a fresh start, but unfortunately failed miserably, and this was shipped to a parallel universe instead. So the cover you have the Vulture, who looks like a Texas businessman, battling Spider-Man, thinking, "No!" Let's get on the story. It starts off how Peter's in the water tower, and we're cut to a flashback of Peter battling aliens saying, "You fool! You jammed my arm! I've destroyed our control panel!" And they leave while Spider-Man gets the Tinkerer out, gets up to the Tinkerer, and he says, "Holy cow, he slipped out my grip, and there's no way I can find him in the smoke." And so Spider-Man gets out, and they look, it's Spider-Man! He must have started the fire! Great, I saved the day again, and I end up getting blamed again. And so it turns out the alien ship is just a prop, and these were thugs that the Tinkerer hired. Now, if you have read the original comic, the Tinkerer pretty much had these aliens pose as crooks, and one of which was Quentin Beck. And Spider-Man's looking at the radio that the Tinkerer fixed and saying, "There's still something funny about this radio the Tinkerer fixed for Dr. Copperwell, but I can't figure out what it is. Still, my spider sense isn't tingling, so maybe it's not dangerous. I hope not anyway. Those alien planet rigged until like all over the city." "Peter, I just saw the most amazing sight. A strange craft air over the city. If I believe in such things, I would swear with a flying saucer." And so he leaves, saying that he only caught a glimpse. And meanwhile, Flash Thompson's looking at the newspaper for Spider-Man and asking where the Spider-Man picks, but only there's the Vulture. And there's even a $100 reward. And so he's like, "Oh man, that could solve a lot of my money worries. And who could get better pictures of the Vulture than Spider-Man?" And so you've got this kind of FBI-like guy who's kind of like carrying the diamonds, and the Vulture takes it just in time, and also bashes into a lot of things, presumably killing him, saying, now, on with business." So Aunt May gives Peter one of Uncle Ben's old cameras and goes to take pictures of Vulture. While looking around the location, he sees the Vulture there. Just as he's about to get a good picture, he ends up getting knocked down and into the water tower. Ends up slipping, but uses the full strength of his agility to break through. And afterwards, upgrades his web cartridges and everything, and the pictures are still alright. And he's like, and so Peter mainly meets Betty Brant, and at the same time, John Jameson shows up and says, "These are great! You must have been almost on top of him. How'd you get these pictures?" "Call it a secret, Mr. Jonah, but I can get more if you want them." And he asks, like, has he heard... He sounds familiar, and has he heard him before? But Peter realizes that he's going to need to deepen his voice if he's going to be Spider-Man. Just as then Peter heads in, Flash Thompson shows up saying, "It's really you! Spider-Man! What are you doing at Midtown High?" "Oh, Flash Thompson? But why didn't my spider sense warn me? He was approaching me." And so he has this kind of like device that Spider-Man wants him to help get. That's a sonic disruptor. And pretty much Flash is like, "Anytime you need help, my help, Spider-Man, you just call me." "Oh, hey, whoa! Spider-Man knows my name! I gotta go tell Liz!" And so Peter Parker, or Spider-Man, goes to confront the Vulture this time, and turns out that his suit is basically basically been set up by the Tinkerer as radio waves for him to get by. I know the writer had every intention to try to make the Vulture a bit more threatening, but the ability is kind of lame. And you kind of dumbed it down a bit. And just as he's about to fall, Peter catches him just in time and leaves him for the police. Well, then James is like, "Parker, you're a godsend. In fact, if you're up to it, there's a little more assignments that you might be up your street." And Peter's like, "What do you have in mind?" And it's the old research center which got blown up. Peter goes in and investigates. And you've got Doc Ock, who kind of looks like something you'd see in a 90s toy line. And he's held some of the research team hostage for weeks. Spider-Man shows up, ends up getting beaten by Doc Ock, and says, "My flesh and blood arms are able to deliver the final blow." And so, much like in the original comics, Peter ends up getting thrown out into the garden area and falls down, knowing he's been defeated. So yeah, this is technically the third issue. So what do I think? I think the idea of Vulture's new ability is kind of lame. And I do agree with what one YouTuber said in his review for Spider-Man Chapter 1. Why would you take a power and dumb it down a bit? So the rest of the story is definitely alright, so it deserves a thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, but really could have been better. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.